feels to me like we're living in a postmodern society. So when I go at the end of my life, I don't think God cares if I'm a Protestant or a Catholic.
No. But the biggest miracle I've seen is the change that God has made in me. But the more I built my faith off understanding why I'm Catholic as opposed to any other denomination or religion, the more confident I was that not only was this the right faith, but that God was real.
Oh, well, it's like saying that there's cocaine in the White House is like saying there's freaking like a beer in my fridge. It's like
I was just talking about this earlier with my family. Like, it's all connected. Like, Brigitte Macron, Epstein,
How legit
Israel.
Is that, though?
It's so legit. There's so much.
Is she a man?
She has like 50 Yeah, she's definitely a man. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome to my podcast, The Last House on the Left. Sorry, guys, I'm in a weird mood. I just had Thibodeau and Ian Vasquez in here. Thibodeau, if you're an old fan, was episode 2. We talked a lot about the Catholic faith, man. We talked some society. Just was chopping it up, and it was great to have Ian on here. Yeah, that's, tonight I'm just a man of not many words. So enjoy the episode, guys. Peace.
What's up, guys? It's The Last House on the Left. This is where I chopped up with my friends, kill time, and speak what's on my mind. Today I'm doing another, I'm kind of doing a third wheeling because it's two of you and me. Usually I have a couple on and whatever, but
damn, okay.
Well, unless you want to tell me something different, Nate. Maybe you have your own girlfriend now, and we've beat the because me and Nate are like the most single people in our friend group.
Damn.
Well, I shouldn't
just call him out for no reason.
I shouldn't put Thibodeau in that category. I'm the one who has talking to a woman is like talking to like an immigrant. You don't know what to say. I might have to cut that out. But anyways, guys, Nate Thibodeau is here. He was my second guest ever. Last time we did it in like my basement when I was living in Londonderry. And we also have Ian Vasquez here.
Hey, yo.
Welcome, bro.
Thanks
for being here. I appreciate you. Yeah. Thibodeau, give me some too. Yeah.
Sure.
So, funny thing, when I did Bunker Boys with some of my friends where we were talking about like the Israel-Iran war, I said your last name wrong. I said Ian Taylor. So it was like one of Thibodeau's other friends.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's a Franciscan friend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we all know like Thibodeau is the networker, so he's like,
Facts.
I'm just bringing people together and making connections and all that,
Thanks, man. Yeah, I know. I'm all about that, so.
Yeah.
Is this camera right? I don't. It looks like it might be cutting me off a little bit.
Yeah. Let me double check.
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Like here? Okay.
You guys are perfectly in frame.
Sweet.
So, like I said, we'll talk some faith. We'll talk some other things. I joked that I was going to ask you guys about Israel-Palestine. Don't worry. We'll stay away from that.
Everything open to anything.
One thing that I really admire about you guys, and like I said, we've met, like, now we like know each other like decently well, but I've always like, when did you guys start your Bible study that you guys started doing?
That's a good question. I think it was 2 years ago. We started a book study.
Yeah.
And we started doing books first, I think.
I wasn't on it originally.
Yeah.
Just get a little bit more on the mic.
Yep.
Okay? You can move it around
Sweet.
as well. It's not going to make any noise.
Sweet.
And if anyone asks, I have questions on my phone for the guys, so don't worry. I'm not texting or ignoring them. So.
Yeah, we started it like, I think it was 2 years ago. It was a book study at first. Ian Taylor was on it originally.
Oh, really?
But
Shout out to Ian Taylor.
Some people came in later. Stephen Pike, you know him. He was on it. It was just Zoom for book study and a lot of my college friends, which is a nice way of keeping in touch with them. But eventually we went through a couple different books, and then we started doing Bible study because I wanted to read more books of the Bible with people and do some exegesis and practice, understanding of Scripture and talking about it. I really like that too. So I suggested it, and Ian was on board, and my friend John McCooney. Those two have been on for the most part. Other people have come in and out, but it's mostly just been the three of us. But it's been good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word exegesis. Do you want to explain that for people who don't know what it is?
Yeah, I had a feeling I was going to say that after I said exegesis. It's just like taking like the words like out of Scripture and like kind of dissecting them. like exegeting them, I think is the proper word. But yeah, it's just like making sure like you're getting not just like kind of how you feel about it, but like actually like diving into it and like making like just seeing like all the connections you can, like not just like a, you know, because people do it other different ways. There's Lexio, which is like kind of how you feel about how it is, you know, you kind of pray about it, it's more spiritual. And then there's people who like will say they do a Bible study, but it's really just like, you know, saying what it means according to their church or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
so when you say like, usually when people say like, oh, I'm exegeting the scripture, they're saying like, oh, I'm like trying to derive what the Holy Spirit intended for the scripture, not like my worldview of it or the historical background of it necessarily. But all those things are good too. It's just that, yeah, it's just a like kind of careful way of saying like how you go about scripture.
Gotcha. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just we're not any theologians or anything.
Yeah,
like
we're
that.
definitely not.
Man, I wanted your degrees. Like, lay them out, man. Come on.
But yeah, it's just kind of a, you know, it's used to hang out, and you know, also just a lot of it. Like I said, we're just reading it. It's kind of prayer to read it, even if you don't quite understand exactly what you're reading. But kind of what Nate was saying, you kind of pull things. You know, obviously, I think we referred to like typology in the past, like what you've pulled from the New Testament and how it relates to Old Testament and things like that.
Yeah.
Like we read Genesis, then we read Revelation, so we kind of ran cover to
right
cover.
up on that, baby.
Oh,
Yep.
so we kind of
there you go.
we like read the Bible cover to cover in a way, but not really.
That's crazy.
We didn't read it.
You know what's sad is that like every Christian should do that.
I mean, we actually didn't. But I'm just making. But
well, I know, but I'm saying it would be very tough for me. Have you done it?
Like every single book of the Bible?
Yeah.
I haven't. I don't think so.
You seem like someone who would have.
No,
that, yeah.
I've kind of gone like through the years, just been like, oh, I haven't read this yet, and I'll read it. But I don't think I've gone through every single book. Like I don't think I've actually read Numbers or, all of Deuteronomy or anything like that. I don't think I've done Leviticus.
Yeah.
But we're just kind of going a book at a time. So we just did Isaiah. So and the reason we did it is because we really hadn't gone through it that much. And I know that Jesus quotes from Isaiah a lot in the New Testament. And there's a lot of prophecies from Isaiah in the New Testament being fulfilled. So I felt like it was an important book to go over. So we literally just finished that last week. And I wish I could go over it again, honestly, because there's a lot of things I still don't understand. It's a different type of literary structure he uses that other books don't, and the point of view from when he's talking, when God's talking through the prophecy is also can be confusing sometimes, but it's very interesting all the same, and I'm glad we attempted it.
Right. And it was John that wrote Revelation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, another thing too, going back to exegesis, is you think of the opposite, like eisegesis. So that's I think when you write, you take your own biases and put them on the text.
You're isolating the verse.
Narrative. Yeah. It's interesting. So that would be one thing where you see, like in Protestantism, a lot of pastors will kind of get carried away and like throw their own, their own spin on it. And like I said, obviously we'll talk a lot like stuff about Protestantism, Catholicism, and all that stuff. But one thing I did want to bring up on this podcast is Thibodeau. Like, does he send you memes like every day? I have like 30 unread
on
unwatched
Instagram
reels from Thibbs.
I have
crazy.
Instagram, but I just deleted it, so I'm just not on it too much. But
interesting. So it's funny you bring up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about deleting social media as well. So
I still have the account, but it's
Yeah.
I can sign in on Safari or Google or anything like that. But
do you doom scroll a lot? Can you?
If I'm on Instagram, it's just it's not great. So
and
I
I
haven't
need to get rid of
posted.
it for a while too. I go on breaks every once in a while because it's too time consuming, honestly.
Dude, and the funny thing is, a couple like guys I really respect and whatever who are like good, like they're in relationships and whatnot. They're like, dude, there's so much ass on Instagram, I just can't. I can't stick with it and whatever. And I'm like, they're not wrong at all. It's like, dude, even if you look at like right now I'm on Snapchat. Oh, Shane Snapchatted me. Like you could go onto like this page, right? and you'll see like literally like just normal
I don't
creators.
even look at that page, honestly.
Like I normally don't, but like you see normal creators like just hanging out with like legitimate porn stars. And it's like, dude, that was something that I struggled with for a long time. And I was like, dude, it's just tough, man. Like, I just want, like, Snapchat is cool because you can either, like, half the time I'd rather like Snapchat someone than actually text them.
Yeah.
But now it's like, dude, you never know when, like, I don't want to immediately be like, oh, just these hoes on Instagram, because it's like, it takes two to, like, you know, tango. Or
yeah,
whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's. Yeah. So that's not the only reason why I would be thinking about getting off social media. But at a certain point, it's like, dude, all right. So you're sending either memes like Thibbs will never stop doing that till
that's
till
what's amazing about Instagram is just sending the memes. Like that's the best part, honestly.
The algorithm definitely learns you. That's for sure.
Yeah. And for me, my whole thing is I just see everything that when I was just filming. I haven't filmed a lot of podcasts actually in July, but when I was preparing for the this Bunker Boys podcast where we talked about like Iran and the whole Israel conflict. That's all I like saw in my algorithm for literally a month and a half.
Because it was like listening to you.
It's quieted down now. Yeah. Now it's just all Israel stuff. And it's like,
Same with me. And my friend Ian Taylor sends me Israel memes all day long. And it's kind of sad. Like I just can't go into it that much, you know. We don't. I don't want to get into that topic.
No, that's fine. Well, it's weird because even there were people like influencers that would be like, even when it comes to the whole Israel issue, just like they were talking wild about this stuff like 5-10 years ago. Now it's like super like a hot topic or whatever. But now like this guy Nick Fuentes, like he's like all over. I wonder if it's because like maybe the not copyright, but maybe the. What's the word? Like your ability to, you know, under the current administration, like you can just get away with more of a ability of free speech, which is so interesting because when you think about free speech, it's like it is a great, beautiful thing, but also if used or abused the wrong way, it can be terrible.
Yeah.
And I always thought that Elon Musk buying Twitter was such a power move, and I'm like, oh, he's like going to turn the country around and do all this stuff. And I didn't even realize till like 2 years ago, because I heard of Elon Musk because I'm like, oh, this is the famous CEO, brilliant mastermind that smokes a joint on Joe Rogan. I'm like, who is this guy? But I'm like, he's not even. Yeah,
Joe Rogan soon.
Yeah,
your podcast.
We'll see. I still got to do a lot of like and subscribe, guys, if you can. So I need to get my numbers up. It's all about that grind. But I just thought it was interesting that depending upon like even like who would be in office or whatever, like the things you can get away with online or whatever. Because then I hear stuff with the Trump administration, like there's certain like porn bans now. But then I'm like, how does that even like? I don't know how you like get around that stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great thing, but I'm like, there will always be like certain things in America that like we don't like and don't agree with, and that's what's weird but makes sense about America is that America's kind of like based on debate in a way. Think about how much the founding fathers. Also, I don't know if you guys were aware of this. I'm just getting, like I said, I'm reading a lot more history, like a good amount more books, a lot of like more historically based podcasts and whatever. I didn't know that most of the founding or half of the founding fathers weren't even Christians. Did you guys know about that?
I did not.
Yeah, they were all. Well, a lot of them were deists. I was just hearing about that recently as well. Yeah. I think Jefferson and Adams, and I don't know a lot of details about it, but yeah, I've heard recently as well. Like a lot of them, are deists, and
is that just someone who believes in God? Is that
it's just someone who believes in God, but not like necessarily recently as well. Yeah. I think Jefferson and Adams, and I don't know a lot of details about it, but yeah, I've heard recently as well. Like a lot of them, are deists. And is
that just someone who believes in God?
It's just someone who believes in God, but not like necessarily
or something up there, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if they would quantify as like Christian God necessarily.
I think it's like God created the earth, but like he took his hands off.
Yeah, right? That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he kind of just created it and then kind of stepped back, didn't really intervene after that. Yeah,
I feel like because the world's such a great thing, I feel like a God that created such a wonderful world wouldn't just take their hands off.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think sometimes when I look at the thing, like I was just talking to my friend David on the way back from our scramble tournament the other day, and we were talking about like kind of similar things. And when it comes to, the whole, like, is there a God? Like, do you believe in God? Like is there, just the normal, like, kind of existential questions that everyone has. It comes to the point for me where, like, my responsibility maybe as a Christian, it's like, how, like, when it says in the Bible, like, be a witness for Christ, like, what's the full extent of that mean? Does that mean I need to be starting to do the, get into debate culture, like I'm Charlie Kirk and I'm like, I'm going after the libs?
Yep.
Or is it just more like live, like in Thessalonians where it says, like, make sure you lead like a quiet life, and like almost like you keep your head down and you stay focused and you follow like God's thing, the way that God says? Or is it many things true at once? Which I feel, something that I'm just working out in my own faith is, I always feel like the last 5 years, I'm like, all right, this year the rubber is meeting the road for my faith. And then next year, I'm like, oh, just the same thing's happening, where I'm like, my faith is getting pressed, it's getting stretched. This is when it's really going to hit the road, and then I'll be good next year. And maybe I'm just like it says in the New Testament, where I'm just chaff being blown in every direction. That's probably not fully true, but
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean we're called to evangelize, but also you're not supposed to like shove it down people's throats. But like, I think just like be a representation of what a good Christian, Catholic, whatever you are, man or woman or whatever. I don't know. I think it's obviously pick your battles. Like, you're not like in the workforce or at work, like trying to, tell people about the Word of God. But if they ask, be honest about it, and, be proud of your faith, like doing the sign of the cross at like, at the cafeteria at lunch, like just be proud to do that. Sometimes I struggle in that. It's like, you just don't want to be like singled out, but just be proud of your faith, and people, like, oh wow, Ian's a cool guy. Oh, he's Catholic. Like, oh wow, Catholics can be cool. So it's just, I don't know.
That's how I feel. Exactly the same, honestly. And yeah, I mean, everyone has their own battles, and I think it really comes down to discernment of spirits and where the Holy Spirit leads you. Sometimes you feel like maybe you should press someone a little bit more. Maybe you know them well enough to be like, I don't really know how you stand with God, where are you at with your journey? But then sometimes I feel like, you can be like shoving it down their throats too much or something sometimes. Maybe not me, but I've seen it. Like, sometimes I get annoyed with other Christians that I feel like they only talk about Jesus sometimes. And I mean, it's amazing to do that. It's just that you can't necessarily meet people where they're at if they don't know if they believe in God yet, and maybe if they got to know you first and then realize you're a cool person, or they like hanging out with you, oh, he's a good person, and then he's Christian, he's Catholic, oh, like maybe I could talk to him about this a little bit more. I'd never really thought about it before. It's hard to judge. I think every Christian struggles with figuring out like when I should go further or when I should step back in like trying to bring people closer to God,
Yeah, and as someone where I've been very present in your spiritual journey, like, you've never had a hard time talking about your faith. So was that something that and I'll throw this question to you after, Ian. Was that always something, did it take time, or was it something that's just like naturally built into you? Yeah,
it definitely took time. I don't know. I kind of just took it for granted for a while in high school, especially. I was just Catholic, and that was it. I wasn't like someone who. It's not that I didn't want to get into the arguments, but I didn't really develop personal reasons as to why I should remain Christian or Catholic. It was just kind of more just something I did. And then when I started having different struggles in life, I realized I could only really turn to God. And that's when the decision for me kind of remained, do I stick with God even in my suffering, or do I go for the world? Because it doesn't feel like God's necessarily giving me everything I want all the time, And that was a struggle for me, kind of in between high school and college, trying to figure that out and trying to figure out like whether I should be vocal about my faith and where I should go for my, schooling. And part of the reason I went to Franciscan and met Ian at college was because I saw the effects of people who lived their faith out, and how amazing the community was out there. And so I guess going back to your question, it's been an up and down journey. Like sometimes I am more afraid to talk about it, but more and more recently I've had a lot more peace in my life, luckily, I think from the graces of God. And even at work, like I'm not ashamed to talk about anything. And I only say that now because it was never like that before necessarily. Sometimes I would want to, but I couldn't. But nowadays I feel pretty comfortable with everyone, and I don't really care necessarily what people think of me, even, if they think of me badly because I'm a Christian. Like, I don't really care. Or my political views or whatever else. So I'm pretty satisfied by what God has done in my life, and so I feel like I've kind of finally reached that point of comfortability. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd say kind of similar. Yeah, like in, if those who don't know, like I'm a triplet. So like
you are.
I'm
okay,
a triplet,
I didn't know that.
Okay. Well, there's 3 of me, so two guys and a girl. But I think in high school we always used to be like, oh, the triplets, and like my brother's Keelan, like his friends were my friends and my friends were his friends. We didn't really have like a individuality there. So we're just like, oh, but in high school I went to Brooklyn for a year in 10th grade. And that was like, oh, I can be my own person. I say around that time, it's kind of like, okay, let me just like not just follow what I'm told or believe what I'm told in regards to Christianity or Catholicism, but kind of thinking for myself, make the decisions I want to make. And obviously then choosing to go to Franciscan, which is a Catholic school, obviously, which I think was a great decision. I'm also grateful. I mean, you guys went to, what was it, the high school?
National Christian Academy.
You go to the same school? Or?
Yeah.
So that's a Christian school, right? So I think I'm
Super
very
small.
blessed. Yeah. Oh, mine was small. We were like 15 kids. I think you had smaller. And 15 kids in the graduating class, you had like 12?
Yeah, something like 10, 12.
Yeah.
So,
I think.
So yeah, small, but still thankful I had that education and I want to, I don't know, one day provide that to my kids one day, but I don't know. I
hope they're still around, by the way, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
Like we don't know how long they'll be around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not, you always think about like tax dollars, funding like public schools. It's like, maybe I will never use those, but I think there's new programs that you can kind of like funnel your own tax dollars to like a private school of your choice. I don't know all the details of that, but I'm like, that's awesome. So
yeah, because I think when I was going to, there was one point where me and 3 of my sisters were all going to NCA, and I think it was like $6,000 each, I think, a year per kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is staggering.
It's expensive.
But obviously it's like you want that Christian education. Sometimes I'm curious like what I would be like, because I operate for my jobs, and when I first got out of like high school, like I was a pretty sheltered kid, but I was like friendly, so I like got along with, just this was my mentality at the time, non-Christians or whatever. But when you grow up in a, it's not even like a bad bubble, it is what it is. You could grow up in downtown Brooklyn in a bubble and not experience like stuff like that. I cut you off, but you were describing
what was I saying? Oh, just like, I think in high school it was kind of like, okay, do I want this? Do I want to pursue like goodness and truth? And because I went before, it was just like, I'm just kind of like believing what I'm told, and like, okay, let's challenge my beliefs. And I'd say around then it was kind of a correlation in time when I kind of developed my own individuality and also my belief in faith, and which is always a struggle. That's why it's a virtue. Like faith is, if everyone knew there was something above us, it'd be easy. Like, but just the doubt of heaven and hell, you're like, what if it's not real? And what if I could do what I want on this earth? So, but yeah, I'd say probably maybe the tail end of high school, and then approaching college was obviously a decision to go to a good school like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and that was my experience too. It's kind of like I got a hold of God, or God got a hold of me, and I really didn't have a relationship with. I've mentioned this a lot on this podcast, but I never really had a relationship with the Holy Spirit until probably senior year or after, and I think that was kind of where my walk with God really changed, because that's when I really began to understand and sense God's presence. Obviously, like I said, a lot of my friends would consider me like I'm a pretty charismatic when it comes to the different labels or whatever. I believe in gifts of the Spirit. I know you guys do too, but specifically for me, I don't hear a lot of, from at least when I grew up. I grew up with a lot of great Christians and good teachers and pastors and whatever, like regarding to the school that I grew up in. But I think at the same time, like, it was it was interesting to me when I didn't see a lot of language or time being spent upon like the subject of specifically the Holy Spirit, because we do talk about the Trinity plenty, and being Protestants, I know a big focus that like you guys get from us is like we're so much like Jesus, 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 right? And you're like, that's great, but there's maybe some other things that you could like add to it.
Yeah.
But I think that is where I always, like, I wasn't a rebellious kid, so it wasn't hard for me to go the path of God. Also, I was like, I think maybe I just had like good people around me that were just able to present God in a way that wasn't like forced upon me and whatnot. And so that was kind of the beginning of my experience. But and like I said, when we just started off the podcast, I'm like, dude, the fact that you guys can actually like meet together and like do Bible study, like, it's super hard. Like, I'm not even going to say specifically for Protestants. Let's just say even Christians in general. I can't get anyone to come to a Bible study, man. Like, I've had my own times where I start one and then it ends and da-da-da-da. The most the most consistent Bible study I had was actually during COVID over Zoom with like 10 friends.
Yeah.
And people are always talking about once quarantine wraps up, we'll go and be back at it full time. But they're like, it's good that I have all this extra time, because I need to do it to focus on God. And I'm not speaking for any of them like after it happened, but because it's natural, like, okay, people just get busy and everyone has different schedules and whatever, so sometimes it's hard. But you also want, like, almost subliminally, we're like, oh, I have Bible study this week. Yeah, but I have to meet with this one old friend, and one thing happens to another. So I just wanted to commend you for, like, Thibodeau's, like I said, is always very much intentional about spiritual community, and
right.
You get a lot of people to like open up that normally wouldn't. And I think we have a lot of friends that are more, if they're not wrestling with their walk with God, they're maybe kind of just
coasting. Coasting.
Yeah, or just like they're very open-ended. They're like, these things are fine, but it's not changing or affecting my life. And, I'm not going to... Just to give context for myself, I've had a lot of ups and downs lately. That Thibodeau's been aware of the last couple of years and whatnot. I think when it comes to, like... What do you guys think of the word, like, evangelism or evangelist? Like, how is that looked at from the Catholic perspective?
You like evangelicalism?
Evangelicalism?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, from my perspective, it seems like Protestants will say evangelical in the same way that Catholics will say like actually Catholic. Not Catholic, but like actually Catholic, or what's the word, like
I guess the opposite of cafeteria Catholic, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
like there's a word for it that we use, like actual, I forget what it is, but that's what it kind of comes off as to me, just from like an outside perspective. I think I don't really know much about what you would proclaim as a evangelical as opposed to just a Protestant necessarily, because even at any Protestant church, I feel like a lot of people could believe different things. But yeah, that's just my perspective from it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, I mean, just maybe Nate's getting it. I'm trying to think of the word too.
Devout Catholic.
Is that
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I guess actually practicing. I mean, there's tons of Catholics that just aren't.
Yeah, there's Catholics who don't practice at all.
You guys would consider yourselves devout, obviously.
Yeah,
I would. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's Catholics that go to church on Christmas and Easter.
Like, those are cafeteria Catholics.
Yeah,
exactly. They pick and choose what church, what they want to do. But would you consider yourself an evangelical Christian or
that's a great
a Bible-believing Christian? Or
I would consider myself devout. I think right now, to be completely honest, I'm having trouble with my church attendance. Not gonna lie, I grew up in the church here. I led worship here for 10 years and whatever, and currently I'm just wrestling with God about a couple things where I'm I need to go to church, but then when I walk into church, I feel like I can't always talk about some of the stuff I'm arguing with. And that's one reason why. So when I was talking about specifically my dad and my mentor, they were for a little while they were pretty outspoken against Catholicism. I'm why is this? And so at the time, the context where my dad was when he was a kid is that he didn't go about it in the right way. He looked at the rules, all these different things like missing church and whatever. And so he has a whole different perspective. Obviously, I think Catholics are saved. I don't think obviously there's many things that I said we'll probably get into, but when it comes to me specifically, there's stuff in my walk with God where I'm it seems like everyone's really concerned with the labels. Even specifically take Protestantism, for example. I think there's 30,000 denominations.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My friend Chris, actually, that came on here a little while ago, he didn't mention this. He mentioned this a couple of years ago, but he's I think denominations are demonic. And I was wow. I'm you throwing the D word around just like that is it's pretty heavy. But I wonder, I'm
what is he? What is he, Protestant?
Oh, yeah, Chris. Sorry,
okay.
Chris went to he graduated with me in
Thibbs.
Okay,
got you. Okay.
And so I'm wondering why. And like I said, half the time when I do these podcasts, it's me kind of verbally processing these things, because there's a lot of things with I think definitely Catholics can be more disciplined about their walk with God. But then sometimes I'm I look at some of the they're so obsessed. If I step out of line, it's gonna be the end of. Because once again, when it comes to
I'll just say on that.
I had made no points there.
Yeah, it's fine. I thought I should step in.
Yeah, please do. Save me.
It's funny. I was listening to something about the rules, because I go through OCIA process with my church, so I help initiate people into the Catholic Church.
You do?
Yep. Yeah, I do that in my church, and we have 4 candidates right now about to come into the church, which is great. So we kind of educate them on how to process Catholicism.
I have one, but you want?
Oh, I know the. Yeah. Do you have Can we open the beer?
Yeah. I don't have a.
I'll figure something out.
Okay. But in terms of
nice.
In terms of the rules and stuff,
hit me with the Trump.
Because some people, even Catholics, will be oh man, there's too many regulations and rules. It's all about the law. How is this supposed to help us? But it's funny because we have spiritual needs and we also have physical needs. So I mean, physically we need to eat, and we wouldn't blame the law of nature to be just be you telling me I have to eat, that's not going to help me be healthier. It's actually it will. Actually, it sustains you in the same way spiritual food will sustain you. So if you miss mass, every week or something like that, you're not supposed to do that. And there's a reason you're not supposed to do that. It's because it spiritually kills you, and spiritually, the farther away you are from God, the worse your relationships becomes with him. But it's not so much of it's not it shouldn't be looked at as oh, you're not one of us for not doing this, but in so much more as you, in order to be in full communion with God, because we love you so much, this is what you should do. Here's the things that will help you. Here's the obligations. Here are the virtues. The more information you have about absolute truths in the world, the better your relationship with God can be, because God is truth. And so that's how I feel about it. It's kind of I feel like I kind of generalized that a little bit, but
that's fine.
But we were kind of going over that today, so I thought I should mention it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you're talking about discipline is, I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to follow these rules, but even third commandment, I think, going to church on Sunday to honor the Sabbath and whatever. It seems but why? I think I don't want to quantify which, out of the 10 Commandments, which is worse or better. But
I know, right?
It seems like that one's like, what the heck. But I think a lot of it, like God doesn't call us, at least from a Catholic perspective, He would never call us to do something that's not good for us.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, oh shoot, well,
good point.
God's like, oh, He's telling me to do this, and like you never look back. You're like, shoot, me doing that was good for me. So it's just, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of saying it. And I think too, with just discipline in general, like it's hard to go to the gym every day, but you'll thank yourself later for it. It's not necessarily something you know in the moment, especially like as a kid. Like if you're a kid and you're going to church because your parents are making you go to church, you're not going to necessarily know why it's helping you. But then you go away from church for a while, you spend a couple years away, and all of a sudden you see the spiritual dryness and spiritual attacks you get, and you realize like, oh, like if this is how I feel without going to church, then maybe I should be going to church. I didn't realize what I had until I left, and a lot of people experience that in their lives. So yeah.
So the whole thing about like when you skip mass, like it's technically a sin, right? Like is it a lesser? Are there such that? Do you guys believe in lesser sins or
yes.
No? We have we have grave sins and we have venial sins, and that would be a grave.
Let's
sin.
actually talk about that for a second. So what would be the grave sins?
Grave sins would be like the 10 Commandments. So
Okay.
obviously, if you miss church because you like couldn't help it, like that's something different entirely. There's some less negligence to that.
Mortal sin requires what? Full intent.
Yeah, you have to have full intent to do like because you want to.
If you're sick,
do your
you're
own
not going
thing,
to church. It's fine,
yeah.
obviously, but.
But yeah, there's the 10 Commandments, which are grave sins, and then there's sins that kind of fall into that. So like you have adultery, and then you have fornication, which is kind of adultery basically, and different things like that, which would be considered grave. And it's the same thing we were talking about earlier. Like it's just, some people might look at it as too legalistic, but it's just to help identify like the spiritual needs you have for your own soul. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So,
It's kind of like, not just go off topic, but kind of the 10 Commandments. It's not an ignorant question to ask. Is that not a Catholic thing? Do Protestants believe in 10 Commandments?
oh
or
yeah, we better.
Okay, I better
We
say.
don't.
Like, I mean, just like onto like the seat of Peter, stuff like that. Like, just having that head, something to look forward to, and I don't know, something to follow. Like I said, just having a structure. Some people can be aimless and just, oh yeah, I believe I'm spiritual, I think is the term these days. But having some like concrete evidence of something to follow and lead, like and like Humanae Vitae, like stuff like that. I think there's been times where like the Pope has said things that I think were like contraception or I think it was very unpopular opinion for like the Catholic Church to not be supporting, and then at least from my perspective, I can easily look back on that and say, oh yeah, that was the right thing to do. So
yeah, could you quickly give the Catholic perspective on like contraception and whatnot for people that don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hugely educated, but like contraception, obviously, I mean, I think it's wrong whether it prevents the conception or if it prevents implantation. If it prevents implantation, that's obviously abortion from Catholic perspective.
Yeah.
But it's obviously, some people say, oh, my body, my choice. Well, it's not your body. It's hard to say, but you're, quite literally,
Yeah.
I think, of course, it's your body, and then there's the rape and incest topic. But
yes, and those things are like 1 or 2% of the overall. I think overall, it's people just don't care and they're irresponsible.
Yeah,
and that's just like I've heard all the arguments. I know a couple pro-life Christians where I'm like, pro-choice Christians where I look at it and I'm like, At some point too, like just with a couple of these things, like especially going back to the stuff that like me and Thibodeau like, and probably yourself like would vehemently disagree on. I'm cool talking about it. Me and Nate have argued about it for so long, so it's like, okay, like I'm not going to move on my beliefs and he isn't going to either, like the Mary stuff and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious personally, like for the Catholic's perspective, like when you like get married or whatever and you have sex, can you do that? Do you only do that like to have a baby? or can you do it like out of
I mean,
pleasure?
yeah, I mean, I think it's in the pursuit of, it's like what's natural. So like, yeah, I mean, there's also natural family planning, if you've heard of that. Or, so it's got to be open to it. It has to be routed to, it's like routed to the good, kind of directed towards it. So anything that's not procreative, to put bluntly, is not good.
Yeah, that's how we would take it. It's because it's selfless. Love has to be selfless. And if you put pleasure before selfless love, then it's not really love. It's kind of usury at a certain point. But, I would ask those people who would disagree, I should be able to have sex with whoever just because I want to feel the pleasure. I say, why get married in the first place? Like, if you don't want to have kids, like, what's the point of marriage? Like, you could just cohabitate. Like I don't understand necessarily. Like, if people, it's not just with the LGBTQ community, but it's also with people who are straight and they just want to be with one person and have sex whenever they want and not have any kids. Like, that seems a little weird to me, honestly.
It's just weird because sometimes like I don't immediately there's points where we talk about we have to like just you got to go 10 toes down on some issues, and that's fine. Like, obviously there's room for nuance, and there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, but I get that people are going to have different ways about talking about some of these things. But like, dude, like you have to be aware of the fact of like, dude, in the Christian life, like to really like pick up your cross and be a Christian, like, dude, you have to sacrifice some things where it's
and like every single church, every denomination up until like I think it was 1910 believed that contraception was a sin, until the Anglican Church decided it wasn't necessarily. I don't know how their perspective would be on that, but maybe they nullified it or something. I don't know how their terminology for it, but every single church believed it was a sin. So it would seem weird to me that someone would argue differently. It's like, well, just like the last 100 years, now it's okay. But but just from like a universal truth perspective, if there is absolute truth, then 1900 years they got it wrong, and then last 100 years maybe not. Whatever church you're in now, depending on what they believe, and a lot of times it's just different between every church. And I think contraception especially, not necessarily abortion, but contraception is like one of the most like not well talked about topics, I feel like. With most churches, like even you'll go to some Orthodox churches and they don't have a central leader, so they'll have different bishops, and one bishop will say one thing about contraception and another bishop will say another thing, which is interesting topic as well.
So how does that work out too? Because how much authority, like what's the Pope's authority called, like over the church?
He has the seat of St. Peter, so he's
infallible, sort of thing.
No, he just has. He's just a leader among all bishops. So he's a bishop too, but he's the leader among all bishops. Whereas like Orthodox would say like all bishops have the same ranking.
I just want to give you some time to explain why you personally align with the Catholic faith as the one true church.
It's a big topic to kind of go over.
We got time. We're only 47 minutes in.
It's more so.
I'll give you minor perspective.
I'll just kind of go through it chronologically in a way. I grew up Catholic, and I grew up believing in God and going to church, and I knew that was important. I didn't necessarily know why. And then I came into, high school with you, and it's kind of like what you said earlier as well. Like, I didn't really know the differences between all these other denominations in Catholicism. I just kind of assumed everyone was, kind of Catholic or Christian or kind of the same.
Yeah.
But then, I met a lot of ex-Catholics, and a lot of them challenged my faith. And
Ex-Catholics meaning like atheists or
no, I just mean like
people
at National Christian, like a lot of people who used to be Catholic and then they become Christian. Yeah.
Really quickly as well, not to cut you off, is that I actually like 2 years ago I joined this subreddit called Ex-Catholic because I want to know like why would people leave? So I would read all this stuff and whatever, and then I'm like, well, dude, to balance yourself out, like go to ex-Protestant. I don't know if it was called that.
That's good objective thinking and learning. I like that.
Well, I think it's only right where I don't. Once again, I think when I go to once again, I know I'm interrupting you. So last thing, when I go at the end of my life, I don't think God cares if I'm a Protestant or a Catholic.
No, I wouldn't say so either. Yeah, I mean it's the same, and I don't think necessarily cares if you're Christian or not. You know, there's people who had never even been reached by the good word, you know, and I don't think they'll go to hell just because of that, you know.
Anyways,
so we can go into that later, but
we should.
So yeah, I kind of got challenged in a way, and I, like you, was interested. Like, I wasn't like afraid of it. I was more like, why aren't you? Like, that's interesting. I've never heard like someone leaving the faith or leaving Christianity in general. Like, kind of wanted to know what was going on. And
it's totally alien when you hear that.
Yeah, especially in high school. Like, you're kind of more innocent, you know.
Absolutely.
And, I was like 14,
I
think.
Have these conversations.
It's like 13 or 14 when I started going. I forget. Maybe it was 15. But, and I wanted to dive into that more. And then I became interested. And I think with, even now, like, I'm very interested in apologetics. And it's funny because there'll be topics that I just don't care to learn about until I hear that of someone who actually believes it. Like, I hear someone talk about it, or I meet somebody and they actually believe it, and then I'm like, oh, like now I want to know like what the response is. You know, it's interesting to me. So yeah, I kind of got into it more and more, and I became more interested. I think partially because I was at National Christian, and I realized like my faith made sense. Like, I feel like more so than other denominations and other religions, I felt more susceptible towards atheistic type arguments, and I didn't want to hear those for a long time. I really didn't want to like, it feels easy to be like, no, I don't feel anything. You know, there's no God. Oh, I don't sense anything. There's no God. You know, type of thing, type of arguments like that. But the more I built my faith off understanding why I'm Catholic as opposed to any other denomination or religion, the more confident I was that not only was this the right faith, but that God was real, you know. And it's like, not that I didn't believe God was real, but it just felt like this feeling of like, oh, wow, like you really are present. Like, oh, you really are guiding a church. Like, there really is a reason to be at this church, and there really is absolute truth held in this church, you know. And then I went to Franciscan because I felt like I wanted to be at a Catholic institute and be around a lot of other fellow Catholics and kind of deepen my faith. And it definitely helped a lot too. But yeah, every topic I go over, kind of just to wrap things up in a generalistic manner, every topic that I've gone over, nothing has proven wrong to me. It's like nothing that the Catholic Church stands for have I found to be logically wrong in any way, philosophically wrong in any way. There's some things I struggle with, but sometimes, you know, there's always an argument that I can find that helps me understand it better. And that's, I think, the biggest topic when you're discussing anything between Protestants and Catholics is kind of sola scriptura. And I think a lot of people who practice sola scriptura are, what is the word? Exact word.
Semantics almost. Or too literalist.
Yeah, no, it's exact word fallacy, I think it's called. Exact word fallacy type of thing. And they'll be like, oh, where do you find this in the Bible? It's like, well, does it have to be exact words to have this to be true in the Bible? And I don't believe that. So a lot of beliefs, you know, can't be proven wrong by diving into the Bible. And I really like that about the Catholic Church. And I don't even think it really makes sense if you have sola scriptura to say that, you know, this can't be true because it's not in the Bible. But I think people kind of I think it's hard because more high church Protestants wouldn't say that, but I think a lot of more relativistic and New Age Christians would kind of hold to like exact word fallacy. So, kind of
Cool.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you had like a atheist, like when you first began your maybe Christian beliefs and whatnot. That's interesting.
Well, I wasn't atheistic, or I just felt like I
struggles or whatever
could tend towards those arguments.
Yeah,
and I didn't like that. But going back to that just 1 second before you begin.
Yeah.
I'm no trouble with talking about that stuff now because of how much God has deepened my understanding, and deepened my faith with Him. I think people ask sometimes who are genuinely curious about, knowing if God is real or not. Like, have you seen anything? Have you, what is it? What is it that you see? It's like, I've seen a lot of miracles, like a lot actually. And it's funny because sometimes I forget them, but the biggest miracle I've seen, is the change that God has made in me. So I'm not the same person I was like years ago.
That's
like,
really good.
Even a year ago, like I don't even recognize myself necessarily.
That's really cool. That was well said.
And that's what shocks me like every day, like just seeing how far God's taken me. So anyways, go ahead.
Amen.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I guess my perception was, I guess I've always never doubted that. Obviously I've been like a theist. I believe there was a higher power, but maybe I've thought, and also like Christianity was, I don't want to say obvious to me, but I mean, he's such a historical figure, Jesus Christ. There's no doubting he was a real man. People who say he wasn't real that's nuts. But even just, obviously, some people, he claimed to be God. Either he was crazy or he was telling the truth, and there's just so many things that he said that, like I said, he was never wrong about the Bible's never contradicted itself. But yeah, I guess maybe just personally, my perspective was, hey, is the Catholic faith the right one outside of all the other ones? And maybe I haven't put as much thought of it as I should have, but I mean, I think it's just kind of worked for me. And also, kind of, like I said previously, like kind of the seat of Peter sort of thing, just like every priest like that that celebrates Mass for us and with us was connected to Jesus, literally. Like St. Peter blessed the bishop, and the bishop blessed the priest, and that bishop blessed another bishop, and literally.
So how does it work with the new guy in Chicago? Like he's not from Peter's line, obviously.
Well, I mean,
no, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone. So it's like a hand. So in the Bible, you see the laying on of hands. So that was done to the apostles.
Oh, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And then so you have Peter, who's the first pope, and then Clement, who's after him, and then you have all the line down. Clement was one of his.
How many popes have there
Clement
been?
was number 2.
Hundreds.
I think, I'm pretty sure.
Hundreds.
Clement was.
Yeah. I think I could be wrong.
He had his hands laid on by Peter, and then Clement to all these other people. And you have all these early church fathers like Justin Martyr, like Paulinus or something like that, and all these people were laid on by hands, and they have that authority. And it goes through all these 1,500 years, 2,000 years, all the way up until our local priests. They have the same hands that were laid on them, which is great because then you can get blessed by them as well. And it's an amazing feeling.
True beauty to it,
when
honestly.
you think about that.
Yeah, it's honestly so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think just like the connection to obviously God, Jesus left us the tradition and like Scripture. And Scripture is obviously, like I said, kind of what you said before, it's crazy, even myself, and we're still, we're reading the Bible, but it'd be a sad thing, and I mean, hopefully I can achieve to read the Bible one day in its entirety, but the fact that we literally have that in our lap is a blessing. So that's one thing he gave us, but then he also gave us the church. And I think that's, I don't know, I don't want to say easy, gives me peace to know that, the church is, we are the church, obviously. And, I guess my perception would be, hey, challenging which Christian faith is, or sect, or what do you want to call it, is the right one. I guess the Catholic one has just worked for me, and
don't worry, man. I'm not trapping it.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah.
And I would encourage anyone, if you're Catholic or have any denomination, like try and figure out why you exactly believe what you believe. I think it's important to like not be biased about your beliefs and know why you grew up a certain way or why you joined this certain church, or is there a difference between this Baptist church and this non-denominational church or whatever else, and are those differences important? Look into it. That's what I would just encourage people to do that.
And one thing that's really interesting too, like I would say you're one of the Catholics that you've been around Protestants for so long too, like largely Protestant, and depending upon like some of us are like pretty outspoken about our faith, and some people like keep their faith private or their faith is more serious. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. But when it comes to being open about it, it's like, I just think like this is a terrible way of saying it, but the thought of I don't even think just this phrase itself, like my faith is private, I think is absolute BS.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how are you ever going to reach anyone?
Yeah.
And I don't even think like I'm an evangelist, but like I know I had an experience with God. I know it was legit and it must be shared. And not sharing those experiences or that experience or that encounter with God's love and power is like the most selfish thing you can do. That's one thing I'm worried about. Is like when I stand before God, it's like, why didn't you share me, Ben? Like to the people that needed it. And it's so interesting because you can always like justify it and like, oh, there's another one coming behind me or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why didn't you do it? Because you were afraid of man. And am I still afraid of man? Of course, at times, but I tried to at least just get the conversation going, and I really identify with that scripture where Paul's like, hey, I came to you without fancy speech or any eloquence, like I just came with the power of God.
Sometimes it's by example too. I want to say, beat yourself up just because you didn't talk to someone necessarily about it. Sometimes they see it in you. I hope people see the change in me and wonder why that there is this huge change in me, and I would say it's all attributed to God if they ever ask me, if they actually see that. But yeah, it's important to be outspoken for sure. I think it's important to evangelize as well, but I think example can be one of the best uses of evangelizing as well. So
yeah. So what this is kind of, we might have already covered this a little bit from where we've already been going, but what do you think were some of the bigger like spiritual experiences that really helped shape your life and kept your faith like going, whether it was inspirational, motivational, life-changing, or you're like, oh wow, this like really like kind of critiqued, I felt this critique from God.
Kind of like a turning point of like you choosing him sort of thing? Or?
Well, we kind of mentioned the turning point, but what were some like markers where you're like, wow, I really experienced God? Obviously the way that you guys would, not to speak for you, but you experienced God through like in the most heavy and holy way through the Eucharist. Would that be well said?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we believe he's truly present in the Eucharist.
So even like different times, so I'm talking about the personal ones where it's like it doesn't have to be at Mass or whatever. When you either you talked about miracles earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
And whatnot. Like I guess I'll start. So like one of the ones where I really started, kind of, I don't know, when the ball just got rolling on my faith and I like started to go on the offensive, was these times where I would be in worship or I would be in like a Bible study, and that like spiritual vigor that like just came out of nowhere like would be with me when I'm driving home, with me like when I went to bed, and with me the next morning, where it wouldn't just be like these emotional, like I've had times where I'm a very emotional person, and I think faith and even the worship at times I think is overall is an emotional thing. Obviously you don't want to be lost in your emotions, but I think when I see like acts of or moves of God like in front of me, that's where I'm like, oh, how can and Thibbs was saying like you forget these times where even the Israelites, like that's why like, hey, build these rocks after the Red Sea, right? So you remember, because you were going to forget all the time. So I was just curious if you had any specific experiences with that you could just like maybe own shrines in your own life in the past with God, where you're like, wow, this is where I just felt like I took the next step, or I really actually tasted God's goodness in a way where I never experienced it before?
I mean, I'll say briefly, like, I'd say in like forgiveness. I mean, the ways like close family members have hurt me and who've hurt those who I love.
Really?
Yeah, just and I'm still growing through it. Just like working to forgive, and you're like, hey, shoot, I did something. And you're like, dang, I would, how could I forgive myself? Why would God forgive me? And like I think to Our Father, where it's forgive us as we forgive those who trespass against us, sort of thing. So it's like, hey, we're called to forgiveness, and God will hold you to the same standard that you do or do not forgive others. And I think to some extent that's kind of released me of knowing that no matter what I've done in my life, God will forgive me, and God has forgiven me, because I've chosen to forgive others. I think that sounds like super dramatic, but I think just it's not a one particular moment, but I think just the way that God truly gives you the life that He meant for you to give. And I think there was some sort of homily years back. I remember where you always see people, you're like, oh my gosh, I think they have it so easy. I wish I had their life. But the priest was basically saying in this homily where God gives you the cross that you're meant to hold, and He gives you the virtues that you have the ability to conquer that cross. And if you were given someone else's cross, you would want your cross back. You're like, oh shoot, like give me my cross back, because like Ben looks like he has it so easy. Whatever you're going through,
Wow.
I don't know. It's like, and God gives you the graces and the virtue and the capacity for that virtue to conquer whatever you're going through. I think that's kind of hit me at least to put it.
That's awesome, man.
Somewhat specifically, somewhat broadly, but yeah, something like that.
Really quickly too, I think, and I said this way back, like episode 12 maybe, with my friend Kylie. Forgiveness, like that's where I feel like that's the most Christ-like you can ever be to someone, because like most of the time we're not even aware of the times that we offend God, right?
Yeah.
Being a forgiving person, I think, is the most Christ-like thing you can do. Obviously, serving people is amazing, loving people, turning the other cheek. But dude, I guess turning the other cheek is part of forgiveness. But like, I just like that mental picture of Jesus even forgiving the thief on the cross. And from what I remember too, wasn't obviously the cross was a torture device, but the type of people that were on crosses were pretty like bad people. It wasn't like just a thief.
Yeah.
Like a normal thief, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Because obviously
sure.
they were made to use as examples.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, I guess they would scourge people for probably less than they would crucify them for. But I wonder that too. I wonder, like, I've thought about that. Like, are the thieves, like the thieves on the cross, are they actually thieves? Like, or were they just called that? Because Jesus was, falsely, obviously accused.
That's a fair point.
And he was, killed for blaspheming, out of all things. And even so, are these thieves guilty at all? Are they? Did they even like steal anything worth value? Maybe they stole a loaf of bread to like eat.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've thought about that before too. But yeah, it is interesting. I think it seems like they kill people more for their influence than, or like scourge them for their influence than maybe they would imprison them for. But I mean, it was definitely the worst torture device.
Yeah.
Maybe known to man. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, well, dude, in the Middle Ages, man, they would do the worst things, dude.
Yeah.
They would have things where you would sit on a metal, a metal, like a piece of metal, and it would like tear your ass. Like,
oh wow,
open.
Wow.
They would boil people alive. I don't know why. But, we could keep going. They would cook people in ovens.
Oh yeah. There's some horrible things.
Like I'm like, dude, the Middle Ages was nuts. And
nights were cool though. So.
Oh, also, by the way, how did the Holy Wars start? By the way, like the
Crusades.
The Crusades. Oh, the Crusades were amazing, dude. Crusades started because
they were amazing.
Oh yeah, they were great. A lot of people don't like the Crusades, but no, they were good. they started mostly because Christians were being killed by Islamic extremists. Or not even extremists, really. I think it was like the Ottoman Empire, right? I don't know if they were the first crusade. But Muslim takeover of the Holy Land and all of the Eastern Christians. And mostly Orthodox, too, which is interesting. But the Orthodox were getting slaughtered so much that they turned to their enemy, Rome, and asked for their assistance. And so the Holy Roman Empire sprung up and, came into crusade to kind of stop everything. And there's some great crusades. There's I think it was like the Fourth Crusade. It's the Fourth or Sixth Crusade. Yeah, you can always ask somebody, was the fourth or I don't know. I have to look it up because I'm butchering it now. But you can always ask them whatever crusade this was, like the Sixth Crusade or something. Was the Sixth Crusade bad? If they say yes, well, tell them that no bloodshed was. There was no bloodshed. It was just a agreement to have peace.
Oh, wow.
And that was considered the Sixth Crusade. It was like the Fourth or Sixth. I forget which one it was. But
so did all these happen? I don't know a lot about the Crusades, to be honest, obviously. So where did these all occur? Were they like near Israel? Because I assume Jerusalem. Yeah,
it was.
Right?
It was all.
They were fighting over Jerusalem. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just Jerusalem. It was like everything in between. Like Islam, would go from east of Jerusalem and then into Jerusalem and then all the way up until Turkey. And so, that's where, they took over Istanbul, which is now considered Istanbul. It used to be Constantinople.
Right.
And they went, I think, even up into Eastern Europe as well. So,
what was the timeline for the Crusades? By the way, I forget.
Man, I'm not a historian. You need Joe on this. I think it was like 1200.
What was the timeline?
I think it was like
Crusades?
the 1200s or so, 1200 to 400 or so, for 1400. I mean,
lasted for almost 200 years between 1096 and 291 or 1291.
Okay, well, it's close.
Yeah, not bad.
One thing I find a little kind of saddening is the amount of persecution that's happening to Christians right now. And think about this, man. There's
double standards.
There's several different. You call it a genocide, call it persecution, slaughter, whatever you want to call it. I saw this stat by this podcaster that I follow, the persecuting of Christians and everything happening in Syria is god awful.
Yes,
and I think even right now Syria's leader, I forget his name, he's a former jihadist. And I'm nice. I'm when do you just turn that stuff off?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Genocide in Syria and Armenia. Armenia's pretty bad. Nigeria as well.
Didn't 100,000 people almost get killed in the Armenian genocide? Because that's never talked about, right?
That's wild.
I don't know if
it's still going on right now. There's still genocide there right now.
In Armenia?
Oh, yeah. It's still happening.
Whoa.
I think it's Azerbaijan, I think, is their enemy. And, it's just there's constant war there. Nigeria, millions of Christians are getting killed. It's insane. You see stories of priests getting kidnapped there all the time.
Yeah.
Recently, I think there is a bunch of extremists who killed Christians in a church there, I believe. It was I saw that.
So just think about all the beheadings of the Coptic Christians that ISIS was doing in
the
2014, back when we were in high school.
Yeah, the 21, yeah.
Also about going back to the Armenian genocide, this is the AI overview. It says, the Armenian genocide resulted in a devastating loss of life. While the exact numbers are difficult to ascertain, most scholarly and historical sources estimate between 600,000 and 1.5 million
That's a lot.
perished. Wow.
Yeah.
Prior to World War I, there were approximately 2 million Armenians in the Ottoman Empire. By 1922, that number had plummeted to fewer than 400K. Wow. That's nuts. So this stat, by the way, of this, like I said, with this guy that was on this podcast said, Christian persecution, obviously you mentioned Nigeria. That was terrible. People just getting just literally killed. You're going to church and you're going to meet God more than one way. But so 1 in 4 Christians in Asia are facing either physical violence or death. Through 3 out of 4 people in the Middle East, makes sense, obviously, and then 1 out of 5 people in Africa. Like,
it's probably almost all Nigeria too. Nigeria's like one of the biggest populations.
Is Christianity the most persecuted religion ever?
Yeah,
maybe just
Hands
by
down.
even just by the numbers of it. Like, there's so many Christians, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, persecuted or like killed, like, you know, murdered for their faith. You know, 'cause you could be persecuted and not like
strictly persecution,
yeah.
because obviously, like, you know, everything in World War II.
Yeah.
And stuff, but that's where sometimes I feel that whatever narrative like makes more sense for people is what will be covered. And obviously there's terrible stuff going on in Israel and all that, and like I said, I've talked about it a couple times, but it's something that's definitely on my heart too, because even with the entire, you know, the administration of Israel is not the people of Israel, of course, and I can just leave it at that. But it makes me like, it just, you know, it makes you ask yourself a lot of questions. Like, dude, like, America is like another world than across the pond, you know. And it's so interesting that just like looking at some of this world history, like I'm preparing for a 9/11 episode, so I'm learning about all the backgrounds of. You know, Bin Laden and the history of Al Qaeda, how he started in Saudi Arabia, and then he was in Afghanistan, and then he was found in Pakistan, but then he was also in Yemen as well. It's like, it's weird to see how, you know, how America's involved in stuff like way.
Yeah, I don't know why we
like
get involved in the Middle East, honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and it's interesting because some of my friends that are more. Like, I wouldn't consider myself, if you are, that's fine, but I don't consider myself like MAGA anymore. I've had times where, you know, I have supported, you know, the current administration, but I just think there's so many things going on that doesn't make sense and doesn't add up. And it's weird, man. Like, I've said this before, but it's like a movie. Like, every time you look at, like, CNN or you look on YouTube, like, whatever, you know, influencer or specific channel that covers news, it's like a new thing every day. And think about this, man. Like, a lot of these presidents are in like their 70s and 80s, and like they're just go
like late 70s, and yeah,
like,
like,
dude, you got to be pounding Adderall or whatever. Oh, speaking of drugs, did you see that? Not Beau Biden, Hunter Biden gave an interview.
How recent
did you
is
see
this?
This was a couple days ago.
Oh, no,
I might have heard of it.
If I wish I had internet, because I could have pulled it up. Maybe I can pull it up on my phone, and then we can look at it. Brett Cooper actually was just covering it. I'm sure you guys know Brett Cooper. Shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out to you, Brett. I hope you're very happily married on your farm in Nashville. God bless you. I think she's actually pregnant now. But the Hunter, so he just gives, I don't know why he's giving this interview, but he's talking about his time in the White House, but then he starts like over describing and just having verbal diarrhea. So he's talking about like cocaine, like how to actually. He's like, yeah, I've been sober since 2019. Okay, so this is a short. Here we go.
Let's see.
Hunter Biden on why crack is so addictive.
The only difference between crack cocaine and cocaine is sodium bicarbonate and water and heat. Literally, that's it.
And those things are pretty much free if you go to like a science store.
This is free. You can go to your neighborhood convenience.
It's unbelievable.
And just get. Anyway, I don't want to tell people how to make crack
That's
cocaine,
crazy,
but
man.
it literally is a mayonnaise jar of cocaine.
Like, it literally goes on.
Wow.
You see how far into this short is?
Yeah,
it's like another 50 seconds. Then he's also talking about something about, you know, how people complain about immigration. Like, you know who does immigration? Like, who's going to tend to your garden? Who's going to do your dishes?
So racist.
I'm like, dude, this is racist as hell. And even Biden a little while, you know, everyone can go and like pick in semantics about what this president said and that president said. But I'm like, Biden said, like, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I'm like, that is a bold thing to say, man. It's so funny. But I don't even know why. Like, why would anyone want to interview Hunter Biden? I mean, actually, it's honestly they're getting a ton of views because he's going nuts all over the place. I'm like, but like, dude, you were the one who He was the one who literally they found cocaine in the White House, which is interesting because I'm like, once you get to a certain point of politics, it's like, oh yeah, there's cocaine in the White House, but oh well, it's like saying that there's cocaine in the White House is like saying there's freaking like a beer in my fridge. It's like, geez,
Yep.
I don't even know what to do, but it's funny how when, like I said, every day it's going to be a different thing. And like I said, Trump's trying to play dodgeball, like with the whole Epstein files and whatever. And
that stuff's wild. Yeah.
And then he's gaslighting people. He's like, you guys are worried about Jeffrey Epstein? It's like, dude, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Your administration ran on it. Like, so eventually I'm going to do a whole. I have this series called Down the Rabbit Hole where I cover like conspiracy theories, forbidden history, and whatever. But at the same time, I'm so exhausted with all the Epstein stuff. Like but at the same time, man, like the worst thing I think about all that stuff is that obviously everyone knows that like America's not this perfect, bleeding heart of a country, but it's so like, dude, like sex, porn, like all that stuff is so rampant in America. And it's just well known that if maybe we should free Ghislaine Maxwell if that guy's getting off or whatever. Sorry if I'm getting political. Thibodeau's like, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you followed that? Have you guys followed that at all?
Which one?
Epstein
Maxwell, or I mean, kind of. It's so much information out there right now. I follow a lot of Candace Owens, and
he loves Candace. He loves Candace Owens. Yeah. You need to make a case for Candace Owens, by the way, because I remember there was a couple rough like the opening 2 minutes when we did the Iran podcast, and Shane's like, Thibbs loves Candace Owens. I'm like, I know, I hate her. And then I'm like, maybe when he comes on, he can make that.
I don't know. You just have to listen to everything she says.
She's definitely right on all the Israel stuff, for sure.
Yeah, well,
she's been saying that for 5 years.
I was just talking about this earlier with my family. Like, it's all connected. Like, Brigitte Macron, Epstein,
how legit
Israel.
Is that, though?
It's so legit. There's so much.
Is she a man?
She has like 50 Yeah, she's definitely a man. Yeah.
I will drop a picture of Brigitte Macron, and you guys
definitely a man. I mean, she has information about it, like, and there's other people she's reaching out to. Talked about, like, she's had reporters like Xavier, Picard or something like that. I forget now. Poussard, Xavier Poussard. He was on her podcast, and a lot of people it's pretty evident, and she's been like. Suing Candace Owens for like cease and desist and stuff like that because of the information.
But she's going so hard on it.
Yeah,
though,
that's why. You think? No, but that's why it's like suspicious Candace? About it. Like Brigitte Macron, like, why are you going out of your way to like try and cover up something that's not true?
If I asked you, I'm like, Ian, you're a woman or whatever, and you would just be like, no, Ben, I'm not a woman. But then you would like never, never address it.
Yeah.
Or you just be like gaslighting, like, what? I don't even know this person. I don't even know these. But there's also a funny video of her smacking the other guy when they were coming off a plane.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
But it's like there's cameras like right there, so you hear or you like kind of see him get slapped like just barely out of frame, and then he comes up, he's like, starts giving his interview and like start taking questions, and he is he the guy from France? I don't even know what country it is.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it's France.
it is France. So that's the.
If you don't even know, man, you need to watch the podcast before you start judging.
Well, that's what
Candace Owens. That's what I'd say.
No, I think Candace Owens is right about the things that I think you follow her for are for YI. Like I said, I've already given the things about where I think she's inconsistent in some ways, but also I wasn't wrong. I got that right. So. Patrick Bet-David, like, I just think what the whole thing where I'm like, her getting, because it's like several $1 million that suit is now, and I'm like, why does this matter that much? Like, I don't care about the French president. Like,
no, you should, because this is down the rabbit hole. We can't
go. No, we got time.
We can't do this.
We got a couple more minutes.
This is too much information, but I mean, Brigitte Macron is a pedophile. Honestly, like.
Okay, maybe.
Like,
all right, then.
Don't sue me.
Send me. All right, then send me this then. Because I didn't know the pedophile part.
Yeah, allegedly, I'll say that so that I don't get sued by Brigitte Macron. But I mean, like,
it's okay. Good. We got 35 subscribers.
You can look it up. Like, it's 40. She was 40. She was 40, and Emmanuel Macron was about 15, allegedly. I think he was even younger. It's like 14 or something like that when they met.
Oh, the grooming thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's grooming. So, and in his presidential picture, he has a book in the background, a pedophilic book, a pedophilic author.
Is that the Donald Barr thing or the Bill Barr one?
I don't know, but yeah, that's Macron's
book?
presidential.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, he slid it in there, like the name shows and everything.
What is it?
It's crazy. So. All the stuff with the
How do you
Olympics.
even print something like
it's
that?
It's just like, yeah. It's, I don't know.
Like,
that's a good point.
Imagine
yeah.
being in like the little book press, like, oh, whoa.
Yeah,
let's let
I have
back.
no idea, but yeah, France is crazy. And I mean, so I think, yeah, I mean, we're not France, but we should know like what's going on in the world. I don't like when people are blissfully ignorant of major issues. I feel like, and I feel like they have a lot of control over.
We've talked about blissful ignorance a lot.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, man. Some, like I said, the 9/11 stuff, the JFK. Like, I am learning a lot more of like forbidden history about like CIA, FBI stuff. I mean, maybe the Macron stuff is, like I said, not everything Candace Owens says is bad or whatever. Like I said, that guy Ian Carroll, that like covered for her while he's pregnant. I'm like, oh, this guy's crazy, but I love it. And but one thing I always want to check myself is that some people like this, I won't say it, but this specific, group of people, like they run the world or whatever. I'm like, it's okay. Maybe there's a lot of. I think like there's a lot of things that are true, but does it mean everything points to this one superlative? It's like if we can't prove it, like. But that's the one thing with the Epstein stuff. It's like there's really been no new information the last like 2 years. He died in 2019, and then things have gotten brought up slightly. What was the newest thing that came? I don't even. Oh, Trump being in the Epstein files or whatever. So. Whatever, but and once again, I don't want to sound like a Trump defender because I'm tired of like defending him. But when it comes to, like, okay, if he's in the files, does that mean that he's a pedophile? Like, how many people are in that? We know Clinton's there. We know Bill Gates. I mean, Kevin Spacey's in there. We know he doesn't have a great track record. He was amazing though in oh my god, I'm just forgetting the name.
Baby Driver or something.
It's a good movie.
But the freaking, oh my god.
House of Cards or something?
House of Cards.
Yeah.
Jeez. The last two. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but the last... I was watching it a little while ago, because this is a super entertaining political show, but the last two seasons, he's not there because the allegations came out. So it's like his like wife becomes president. I'm like, come on, man. This is so... I mean, it was already a little like unrealistic when in season 4 he pushes his Secretary of State down the stairs and then like gets away with it. So I'm like, all right, well... I could see that. So, all right, I got a couple more questions, and then we could wrap up.
Yeah.
So, kind of off the basis of what we were just talking about and whatever. Like, with all this stuff going on, like, when did you guys start to like not trust the media anymore? I think for me, it honestly started with kind of the FBI investigation through the Trump assassination.
Interesting. I trust the media.
I mean, yeah, it's...
Because I've always heard that phrase for the last 5-10 years. But it's like I don't ever have any reason or facts to back it up.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if I ever...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's weird because I feel like I grew up without cable, really, for the most... I mean, when I was a little kid, like, we'd watch Saturday morning cartoons, but I never got into politics until high school. And by that point, like, not many people watch cable news. I mean, who our age like watches the news? Like, not, I don't think anyone really. You might hear something from your parents. Yeah, I mean, the first election, I just kind of went with who my parents went with.
Yeah,
like,
me too. Because I was freaking. What were we? 18.
Yeah, we were like 18, 19. I think we. I don't know if I could even vote yet. But after that, I started going into understanding politics a lot more, because I went to community college, and that's when the election was. And I went into, like, for some reason, English class. It's an English class. It's like English 101. But we had to do, like, politics. We, like, would research political, like, things, and we'd, like, present it to the class. It was very interesting. But we went over, everyone went over all their own topics. And
English.
English class. Yeah, I don't know why. But we did presentations at the end of the year, and I did it on economic policies that were more political than I realized, because I was in finance, so I just wanted to do economic stuff, and I found some people who were more politically minded talking about identity politics stuff, and proving how it's false because of, marking the economic data of like income for different groups of people that no one would know look any different. So I found that very interesting. So I presented that to class and other stuff like that. And afterwards, I realized how controversial some of those issues were. Maybe not in the real world, but over media. And then that's how I was like, yeah, media is like totally out of touch, because I could talk to someone who was liberal about Black Lives Matter completely fine, and they would listen to all my economic conservative stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh, I like your points," and like,
"Oh, interesting."
Yeah, and it was like I didn't even realize like there was such big political divide at the time.
Yeah, people that I know that are progressives, I would say it's interesting now because like you take like any hot button topic. Even I was thinking about this back when like abortion was like a crazy. Just crazy discussed topic, and it's like we can't even agree on like the premise of the question, like when does life begin, stuff like that. And then it's like the Iran stuff, like, well, does Iran have nuclear weapons, and that, and like I said,
who knows?
Yeah.
Or did Trump actually get like shot? Like I'm like, come on, like we can't agree on the main thing. You can debate the other things, like, who's behind it, all this other stuff. I'm like. But, I mean, and I was saying I'm late to the party because obviously I think it was the media being a little bit more, or just super partisan, I think was probably happening when we were all in high school. Are you 20? Are you our age?
We're 25. We're just turned 26 in June, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that's when, I think just
28, like, right? You're 28? No, 27. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's tough for me to, because now it's like, it's like, I don't know. I guess here's another question that I had was, which is, I guess ties into it a little bit. It's like I feel now like America is no longer. It feels to me like we're living in a postmodern society. So the reason why this is one of the last questions I want to bring up, because I thought we could have some good dialogue on this. But so just so we all know, I'm reading. I had the definition written down on my phone. So it's postmodern society is characterized by a skeptical and individualistic worldview where truth and reality are seen as subjective and shaped by individual experiences and perspectives.
Yeah.
That's
I totally missed that, sorry.
So you think it's morality is subjective is kind of what I got from that. Yeah.
I don't even think America, like I know this is probably unpopular, and if we want to hash it out we can. I don't even know if America's a Christian nation anymore, man. Like, look at the stuff that's in there.
That's what's interesting too about what we brought up earlier is like we were founded on deistic ideas, not really Christian like people, founding fathers. Very deistic. And so
I mean, like, Ben Franklin was definitely an atheist, right?
Yeah, he
out of all of them.
I don't think he was Christian at all. Yeah, I don't think he believed in God at all. I don't know, but it is interesting because I remember hearing the topic recently too, like of why liberty doesn't really make a lot of sense in some ways, because if you have freedom of religion, it's not so much like saying like, oh, you're not really saying you're a Christian nation. You're saying, oh, whatever version of Christianity you want to practice, you can. And it's kind of separation in a way, like, Maryland used to be like only Catholics basically.
Right.
And then you had like all these other places that were more like Anglican or other
Quakers.
Yeah, and it's like, well, no one really agrees on anything except for that Jesus is God. That's kind of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then since then it's become more relativistically minded, I think, with you practice whatever version of religion you want and we won't get in the way. And that's not really like a Christian-centered society, I would say.
That's what I would say. So, really quickly, if you don't mind me butting in.
No, that's fine. I was done.
I feel like a lot of America was based on like Christian, whatever, Judeo values and whatnot. But when I feel like us as Christians, it's like when we see like a perspective or something that we don't agree with or don't believe in, like, we naturally get like worked up about it, and like stuff like, I know we've actually surprisingly talked a lot about abortion. Abortion hasn't been on my mind for a long time, that whole subject, but like we get super outspoken about it, like we're trying to change laws and do this thing, but it's like, well, dude, to a certain, like, there's obviously like the separation of church and state, but I look at it as if, well, I'm like, dude, there's going to be atheists, and like, and this is where I have a tough time because like I have, once again, I think our values are super similar, but I'm like, well, since we live in a free society, it's like, can't you practice like being gay or doing this or doing that? I don't like it. I would rather have like, you know, you live a life that, you know, God wants you to live. But that's where I'm like, where is how you have to live with people that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying specifically for
Yeah. I guess the legal law ideally should follow the moral law. Like laws should follow when you see morality have conflicts with legal law, it's like, well, yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, okay, well, as long as like, you know, you're, and I mean, on the gay marriage thing, in my personal opinion, I feel like the state should not be involved anyway.
I agree. That's the thing where I agree.
Yeah, it's like well,
I don't want to be hypocrite with that stuff.
Well, and in regards to like the Catholic perspective, obviously, gay marriage is not a valid marriage, but I think like should people be thrown in jail for doing that? I wouldn't say so. No. Which then again, I don't think the state should even be involved. Like, people should get married. Obviously, I believe in marriage, but like, I don't know, some things the state doesn't need to be involved in, I feel like. So, but ideally, the legal law should follow the moral law, and when they conflict, it's like, okay, well, I don't know exactly. You're telling someone to not have an abortion because, like, oh, well, maybe you don't believe it's a person, but I do. Well, how about what is the baby? You know, you're trying to represent.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at it from the other side sometimes. Some people are critical of you know the very Christian like right of America, but I'm like, there has to be times where you have to let things slide, but then it's like but then what are we we're not gonna be doing Sharia law either, like geez.
Yeah, it's weird because I want to go back to a monarchy, honestly. I want to have kings because it's top down instead of bottom up. Society, America's very bottom up. The politicians are dependent on the people, and
that's what
base
it should be.
Everything. Well, they should be, but they also shouldn't base all of their beliefs off of what the people of America want them to believe. Like, you play politics, you don't actually have your own views. You're just subjugating yourself to whatever the people believe.
APAC.
But yeah, exactly, APAC. But no, go into that.
Sorry,
but
I just keep trying to razz him about it. Keep bringing it up.
I know, but with the monarchy, like, it's king down, so you're subject first to the church, so as a king, and then everyone else is subject to the king. The stewards or whatever, and then everyone below them is subject to them. So you're not just like making policies so that the common people are happy. You're making policies based off of like your subjugation to the moral law instead of like the opposite, which is what we have in America, which is good. And there's some good things about it. Like, everyone should be treated more equally and fairly and have a opportunity in making great income. I mean, the U.S., I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, the best quality about the U.S. is that, it's probably the easiest place to make money out of any other country, I would think. Yeah. No matter what your background is.
You would agree too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very hedonistic and very convenience-centered. And I will do whatever you want for 4 years of my time in office, and that's it. And then I'll change my views depending on what the demographic looks in 4 more years, and then 4 more years again, and whatever else. It's just, and then they're not subject to the church's moral laws. The church has nothing to do with anything because freedom of religion, and I can do what I want, and your beliefs can't dictate how I write laws, basically. So.
Yeah, and the last thing I would say too, like I do see stuff with the current administration where they're like kind of deporting people that don't agree with them or are outspoken against them. Like, dude, like you can't do that. Like, yes, like almost like you read this. The current administration represents a lot of beliefs that I would like to think when he first came in that I had. But I'm like, that's like isn't that starting to be like communism or socialism? Was like, you don't agree, like I'm gonna silence you. And that's the thing where last thing too, where it's like like Ben Shapiro became famous through doing cancel culture or whatever. But when someone like Candace Owens brings different perspectives, they immediately try to silence her. They kick her out.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, now it's like, okay, it's not like, oh, the left are just trying to silence people. It's like, no, it's just whenever it's convenient.
Yeah.
So sorry to be political to my listeners. I just
fall from grace.
Processing in real time. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, thanks for coming on. We did over an hour and a half. So I'll have to have you again. And thanks for all the good talk. And like I said, it's always cool when we can sit down, hash stuff out. And like I said, I always respect in Nate through, what we've just through my experience with him, and he's obviously talked so well about you. And like I said, this is probably our 4th time meeting, Ian. Right? 4th. Couple cigar
Nate's
things, like couple
and
cookouts or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're a stud, man. And
I appreciate
it. You said you just went on your sister's podcast.
I did,
recently?
yeah.
What's her podcast? I'll shout her out.
Shoot, what was it? Morning with Maddie. That's what it's called.
Morning with Maddie.
Exactly.
Is it on Spotify?
It is on Spotify. Yep.
YouTube as well, or just Spotify?
I think YouTube as well, but I follow her on Spotify. So
shout out to you, Maddie.
Yep.
One of the triplets, right?
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Cool. Well, cool. Until next time, guys, and see you later.
Thanks for having us.
You got it. Thanks,
cool.
Ben.
Peace.